The Korean War. Just? By Drew Austin. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, and ended on July 27, 1953. The war was fought by North Korea, China, and the Soviet Union on the communist side, and South Korea, the US, and Great Britain on the other side. Most of the fighting occurred along the 38th parallel. The communists suffered between 367,000 and 750,000 deaths. Between South Korea, the US, and Britain, there were 178,426 deaths. The war was never declared when the US entered South Korea. The US did not attempt diplomacy before entering the war, but it was justified because the war had already begun when the US entered. The war began when North Korea invaded South Korea. The UN, led by the US, entered South Korea and helped drive North Korea back. The UN should have stopped there, but instead they pushed on into North Korea. When the UN began invading North Korea, China sent an army in to help. The UN was driven back. After 3 years of fighting, a truce was reached on July 27, 1953. The first requirement for a just war is the war is just if the cause is just. The US entered the war to protect South Korea from invasion. This was just. The second requirement is the war must be lawfully declared by a lawful authority. The US never declared war, so this was unjust. The third requirement was for the intentions behind the war to be just. The intentions behind the US entering the war were to protect South Korea, so this was just. The fourth requirement is war must be the last resort. The US did not attempt diplomacy because the war had already begun when they entered. The fifth requirement for a just war is there must be a reasonable chance of success. The US had a reasonable chance of success because they were a world superpower. The sixth requirement for a just war is the goal must be proportional to the offense. The US went overboard in their defense of South Korea when they went on to invade North Korea. This was unjust. The US did not meet two of the requirements for a just war. For a war to be just, it must meet all the requirements for a just war. So, the Korean War was unjust.